everybody, so new review for you guys today. We're talking about the upcoming horror film from Universal, Blumhouse's The Invisible Man. Even though we've had our fair share of bad horror films in the first 2 months of 2020, this is actually the first one I was genuinely looking forward to. I'm a huge fan of Leigh Whannell, the writer-director of this. He's brought actually a lot of really interesting stuff to the table in the horror genre for the last 15 years or so, co-creating Saw, Insidious, and he also did Upgrade 2 years ago, and that was awesome. So I was actually really excited to see what they're going to do with this new interpretation of The Invisible Man, especially since we're kind of finally getting away from that whole dark universe thing.
I will remember you.
I mean, R.I.P. Dark Universe, you had a very short run, but let's move on from that. So this version of The Invisible Man follows Cecilia, whose abusive ex-boyfriend takes his own life, leaving his fortune to her. She suspects it was a hoax, and once a series of coincidences turns lethal, she works to prove that she's being hunted by somebody that she can't see. This film pretty much has like the perfect blueprint on how to make a really effective remake or reboot. You can tell that a lot of love and care went into crafting the story. It's filled to the brim with suspense and tension all the way throughout the 2-hour runtime. It's very rare that a film, especially a horror film, is able to keep you on edge all the way throughout the entire film. But this does a really good job of just building that tension and the suspense. And it's psychological in its execution. And that's what makes it so intriguing, is that because the antagonist of the film is invisible, you honestly do not know where he is any of the time. He's, could be possibly on screen, and it really messes with Elizabeth Moss' character, and it messes with you as well, because you really don't know what to expect, and I love that kind of element of surprise that the film gives us. Elizabeth Moss gives an amazing performance in the lead role, practically carrying the whole film on her shoulders and doing it expertly, delivering this amazing performance, conveying the character's descent into madness slowly as she's tormented, leading to some very intense moments in the film that really just kind of shocked me out, if I'm being honest. I did kind of go into this film hoping that the trailers that we did get didn't spoil all of the major moments in the movie, because some trailers are kind of guilty of doing that, but there actually are some really genuinely shocking moments that are left out of those trailers that really are some of the actual highlights of the film. And of course, this movie's budget isn't very large. It is Blumhouse after all, but there is a fair amount of CGI used in the third act that actually I thought was used in a very clever way, a really interesting style that Leigh Whannell used for the Invisible Man portions when you actually do kind of see him more in the third act, so to speak. It's really interesting, and I just always have loved Leigh Whannell's style when it comes to scares and action scenes, because there are some scenes where it's reminiscent of Upgrade, and it just goes to show you he really has an eye for this kind of stuff, and I really hope that he continues to do more of these kind of horror, action-y kind of hybrids things in the future. And one more thing I do definitely have to touch upon is the actual use of sound design in the film. It's very effective. I highly recommend seeing this in the best theater possible. I saw it in Dolby tonight, and it was amazing because of the way that the sound was enhanced. It really does enhance the tension, especially just in the scenes where all you can hear is like footsteps down the hall or the soundtrack blares. It's just so effective in its tension building that it really gets under your skin at certain points, especially mixed with the score, because this film has a really great score as well. I'm usually not a big score person, but I really did love the score for the film. So yeah, I highly recommend you check out The Invisible Man. This is definitely the right way to do a remake, reboot, whatever word you want to use. It's definitely effective. It's unique in its own way. Leigh Whannell did a really great job kind of separating his own version of The Invisible Man from the many versions that we've gotten in the past from Universal and stuff like that. It's really effective. The scares, the tension, the performances, they're all really great. This is definitely one of the best films I've probably seen of 2020. I mean, it may be actually the best one just because it's just so effective, and it's by far the best horror movie that I've seen this year, just because all the horror movies that have come out this year are really bad. So this is actually restoring my faith in the horror genre this year. I'm hoping we get some more really good horror films this year, just because there's so many horror films this year if you haven't checked the schedule. I am really hoping that Elizabeth Moss does get a lot of recognition for this portrayal, just because it is so great. But horror genre, I mean, it's usually not very much looked on by awards when it comes to the mainstream award events. It'll probably get overlooked, sadly, like many horror films do every year. But this is definitely one of the best performances of the year so far. So kudos to Elizabeth Moss. Those are just my thoughts on The Invisible Man. If you see the film, make sure you leave a comment section down below. What did you think of the film? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And also, what is your favorite version of The Invisible Man? Whether it be this new version or obviously the classic Claude Rains' Invisible Man from 1933. I've always really enjoyed that film as well. And maybe more people like this version. Maybe people like the classic version more. But either way, make sure you leave a comment so we can talk about all things movies in the comment section. You know I talk about all these movies here. But thank you as always for checking out my reviews. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, hit that subscribe button. If you want to keep updated my reviews, show actions, unboxings, and more. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.